Yeah. Once again, you're all welcome to the presentation. My name is Habib, and um, I'm a mechatronics engineering student, and also an AI safety researcher based in Nigeria, and also one of the co-founders of AI Safety Hub Nigeria, an organization trying to increase capacity in terms of AI safety and AI safety risks. So yeah, I'll be presenting today. Let me quickly share my screen. Um, just a minute, let me share my screen. Yeah, yeah. So I'll be presenting um on a paper called basically trying um to evaluate the different methods of risk from AI. So to start with, I'll share the link to the paper, or rather, the link to the paper is, I don't know if you can see it or if you can scan. Um, yeah, so that's the link to the paper. Let me head back to the start of the presentation. Yeah, so to start with, today I'll be presenting a paper on called model tampering, and it's like it's the core idea of the paper is basically is to like most importantly, the idea is quite simple, but most AI most AI safety evaluations today focus on prompts. So what the paper is trying to do is it argues that prompt evaluating models by prompt alone is not enough to understand real risk. So it's suggesting that they propose a model tampering as a more rigorous way to stress test safety mechanisms like on learning and visual training. So yeah, at the beginning of the paper, they discuss two mechanisms where, sorry, yeah. So they discussed about how um, current governance frameworks are based of safety evaluations or like AI risk safety evaluations, and most AI risk safety evaluations are usually based off of prompt input output space, right? Basically, trying to elicit harmful capabilities from large language models by prompting them. So while that works, they also argue that it's not enough to reveal the entire the possibilities of risk that may arise from trying to prompt an AI agent. So they suggested a different approach, which is tampering with the model by tampering with the model weights and also tampering with the internal activations. So safety critical systems must be tested under like stress exceeding operational norms as it was stated in the paper. So the behaviors identified during any particular input-output evaluation can only lower bound the model's worst possible case behavior. So they had like three methods basically, which they used to like test their argument. The first one was the input space, and the second was the latent space, basically modifying the nuance of the model. And the third was the weight space by trying to adjust the weight to see how the model reacts to several elicitation mechanisms. So the objective was to directly evaluate risk from open weight modifications and also indirectly predict unforeseen input vulnerabilities. Yeah. So they had they had two ways that they used. So the first method was like introducing the models to 8 learning methods, which they listed in the paper. Then also they attacked the model using, I think, six methods for the that input space and 5 methods for the model tampering space. So the goal was like to like optimally unlearn with zero utility loss. And so, however, the constraint that they had was a method that deletes knowledge but destroys fluency, which happens to be a failure. So basically, what the paper was trying to say is that while learning is useful, the model doesn't specifically remove the harmful information. It hides them, but via 16 learning method, it's possible to bring back those knowledge into the agent, and that could pose like a serious risk. So based on the benchmarking results, I want to go into like too much technical details. Well, based on the results, there was a representation rerouting, which is the current gold standard for balancing safety and utility. So also more information on how the learning was done with the 16 steps of fine-tuning. And so a single gradient step, which a batch size of 64, increased harmful performance on 6 of 8 methods by over 25% points. And so moving forward, the paper talked about how there was a low dimensional robustness subspace, which means vulnerabilities detected follow a specific pattern. For example, if a model is weak to one type of tampering, it's structurally weak to others. And adversarial fine-tuning occupies a distinct geometric cluster compared to surface-level input attack. So one form of attack can also be, I think, applied in several ways on the model. Yeah, so I think this is one of the coolest results from the evaluation so far. The success of tampering attacks like pruning or benign fine-tuning strongly correlates with success prompt attacks. So correlations are around 0.84 to 0.87. So instead of generating millions of malicious prompts, you can do a simple structural test and predict future vulnerabilities. So by tampering with the models, it's much more possible for you to predict several prompts that you could use to evaluate the model from the input-output space. So the case study here is the UK AI Safety Institute blind test, where to test if it generalizes, they use secret attacks from the UK AI Safety Institute. And the authors did not know these attacks ahead of time. So they had no idea of the attacks ahead of time. And the prediction still worked. Benign fine-tuning and pruning predicted vulnerability to these hidden attacks. So this isn't just overfitting on their own benchmark. So establishing a conservative estimate of risk. So this slide frames it from a safety engineering perspective. Tampering attacks consistently revealed higher risk than prompt attacks for 64% out of 65 models. And the paper argues that tampering gives a conservative safety margin. If your model survives tampering, it's most likely robust. And also if it fails, then prompt-based evaluations are quite optimistic. Yeah, so extension to jailbreaking. So during the jailbreaking elicitation, it wasn't just about biological learning. So the aim was to elicit harmful biological knowledge from the model. And they tested 9 refusal trained models as well. And the results were about 100% failure rate under tampering. All safety tuned models could be jailbroken via structural attacks. Tampering also predicted vulnerability to Cascade, a strong proprietary multi-turn attack. Yeah. So the release resource, which is the LLM G80, open on Hugging Face, is like a 64 model across 8 on new methods and 8 checkpoints. Open weight implies releasing the capability to reserve safety training within 16 steps. And so
Habib,
the new
I don't know if
standard,
anyone else heard, but I think to me you were breaking up a little bit. Could you go back and redo that last slide?
okay. Yeah, I was talking about the resource released by the researchers, which is the LLM GAT collection. It's open on Hugging Face, and it's like a 64 model collection that is based on the paper. Yeah, so the implications differ for closed and open models. For closed models, evaluation should go beyond prompt engineering and include controlled fine-tuning tests. For open weight model, tamper-proofing is basically unsolved safety that can be reversed after released. And the authors argue safety cases should include worst case estimates derived from weight and latent manipulation. So in terms of security, the the paper's bottom line is that input only evaluations are fragile and shouldn't be depended on for rigorous testing of AI capabilities. And tampering attacks seem to be more powerful and more predictive of future failures, and they give a more realistic picture of the true risk. So the authors concluded that the model tampering enables substantially more rigorous evaluations. And yeah, I think for the reference, here are the reference that you can use. That's basically most of my slide. Although I know there are some uncertainties regarding this particular paper as to several questions that I personally thought about. And even though I won't say I'm not very experienced or um, I won't say I'm an expert in terms of this, but I'm also like open to hear different ideas and suggestions or uncertainties from anyone. So for the questions I am thinking of posing, the first one is about um, knowing if should tampering attacks become standard in frontier model evaluations, or if learning is meaningful long term for as a long term safety strategy. Yeah, open to more questions. So yeah, that's the end of my slide presentation. Um, yeah, if anyone
Okay.
has more questions.